Topping tonight's news, the Supreme Court's decision to give states the final word on sports gambling has fans and chance takers talking. But will the state of Alabama get in on the action? WVUA 23's Khadijah Torbert joins us live at studio to explain the pros and cons. Khadijah.
Well, Tamika, if you want to bet, it's going to be a lot easier now after a 26-year-old federal legislation was overturned, paving the way for states to sponsor sports gambling as they see fit. Monday's decision was a landmark. The sports landscape will undergo some radical changes as sports gambling goes mainstream.
The fact that it was 7-2, almost everything is 5-4 now in our Supreme Court. So it seemed like not a slam dunk, but I would have been really surprised if it had gone any other way.
By legalizing sports gambling, the Supreme Court has opened the door for casinos, daily fantasy sports sites, racetracks, and any other potential operations to open up legitimate sports betting operations across the U.S.
I think you'll see some people make their own businesses, maybe have their own little bookie joints. I know of a guy personally that he's already inquired to me about. He's talking about opening 4 spots up around Tuscaloosa.
A big question is whether or not the state of Alabama will jump on board and what effects it could bring.
We're kind of making some guesses based on what is the size of the market, but the guess that we're getting is roughly a few $100 million in tax money.
And whatever you put the numbers on taxing it, revenue will go for not only people's pockets, but as well as the government and the state's pockets as well.
So forget whether or not the vote was pro or anti-gambling, but more so saying that no single state should have an advantage another state doesn't have.
It had given Nevada exclusive rights to sports betting, and all the other states said that that wasn't fair.
But if states decide to sponsor sports betting, who gets a piece of the pie?
So, for instance, the NBA has said, we'd love to be a part of this, but they want a percentage. Potentially it could be 1% of every bet. That gets real tricky if you start looking at college sports and say, okay, is this going to be a revenue stream for the athletes, or is it going to be another revenue stream for everyone but the athletes?
Millions of dollars for professional players. Now you're talking about taking a percentage of a tax and providing it to student athletes as well. It's great. That'd be great.
Now, upwards of $150 billion is spent every year on illegal sports gambling. And with this new ruling, states would now be able to regulate that and root out corruption. Live in the studio, Khadijah Torbert, WVUA 23 News.